Evil Lynx Chap 1. In a valley deep within the remote forest, there lay a small, quaint village with traditional wooden houses that evoked nostalgia for the past. The houses had gracefully curved roofs, small windows, and walls of aged wood, creating a warm and vintage atmosphere. The village path wound through the houses, surrounded by lush greenery and flowers, creating a picturesque scene like a natural painting interwoven with the lives of the residents. Here, people lived by farming and hunting. As night fell under a sky filled with twinkling stars like those in fairy tales, the villagers gathered to share a mysterious story passed down through generations about a terrifying woman with a cat's face. The tale told that on bright moonlit nights, when darkness blanketed the village, this woman would appear. She wore a red dress, her face covered in soft black fur, with deep green eyes that shone like a cat's eyes in the dark. She had a wide mouth and sharp teeth, like a cat ready to pounce on its prey. Some believed she sought lost children, caught up in the excitement of nighttime play, with the sinister intent of luring them into the forest and eating them. Whenever the woman appeared, the villagers became anxious and fearful. Parents warned their children to stay away from the forest shadows and not to play outside at night. Gradually, no one in the village went out after PM. However, in this village, there was a family that lived in isolation, indifferent to the ghostly rumors. This family of 3 lived in a cramped old house on the village's edge. They had a daughter named Lynn, a brave and mischievous girl always seeking the truth behind the village's mysteries. One night, when the moon was high, bathing everything in its light, Lynn decided to explore an abandoned house on the village's outskirts. According to rumors, it once housed a mysterious family that had vanished under strange circumstances. Lynn felt a mix of excitement and fear, but her curiosity overcame any fear, and she resolved to uncover the truth. Lynn sneaked out of her house, followed the path, and arrived at her destination. As she entered the old house, she discovered strange things. Ancient paintings of bizarre shapes hung on the walls, and incomprehensible symbols were drawn on the floor. On the table were old books covered in dust. But most peculiar was a cat deity statue on the altar, unlike any worshipped by the villagers, with a cat's head but a human body. How strange, Lynn thought, trembling. Meow! Suddenly, the wail of a cat echoed from upstairs. Lynn's heart raced, but curiosity compelled her to proceed. She opened the door to the upper room, and a terrifying sight greeted her. A jet black cat with sharp, cold eyes that seemed to want to tear her soul apart. "Don't be afraid, Lynn," an unfamiliar voice spoke from a corner of the room. "It won't harm you." Startled, Lynn turned to see an old woman emerging from the shadows, her gaunt face illuminated by a flickering candlelight. The woman stepped forward with a friendly smile. Surprised that the woman knew her name, Lynn asked, "Who are you? How do you know my name?" "I'm Mrs. Chau, and this is my cat, Mun," the woman said, her mesmerizing eyes gazing into Lynn's. "I've lived in the village for a long time. I rarely go out, but I know your family. Your house is at the end of the village road, isn't it?" Lynn sighed with relief. "Yes, that's right." She looked at the cat. "Why does your cat look so scary?" Mrs. Chau smiled and approached, saying, "Mun was abandoned by its previous owner and was teased by village children, so it distrusts strangers." She stroked the cat lovingly. "Mun isn't an ordinary cat, Lynn. It's very intelligent and can understand and control human emotions. This is its special ability." Lynn didn't fully understand but felt a strange attraction to Mrs. Chau and Mun. At that moment, the cry of a child calling for help echoed from the nearby forest. "Is anyone there? Help me, please." Hearing the child's cry for help, Mrs. Chau and Lynn rushed toward the sound. They pushed through the dense branches into the forest. The deeper they went, the darker the forest became. The forest was now so silent that only the rustling leaves, the child's cries, and their footsteps could be heard. The moonlight filtering through the trees created shifting shadows on the ground, filling the air with an indescribable fear. The cries for help seemed to grow closer, and their hearts raced with anxiety. Finally, they reached a large cave where the cries were coming from. However, as they approached, the cries abruptly ceased, leaving only the forest's nighttime peace. Mrs. Chau and Lynn exchanged worried, skeptical glances. They knew something was wrong but couldn't ignore the cries for help. "We should probably check inside the cave," the old woman said, her voice tinged with concern. Lynn nodded in agreement. Together, they stepped into the cave's darkness, unaware of the terrifying fate awaiting them inside. As they entered the cave, the moon was suddenly obscured by clouds, plunging everything into an eerie gloom. Lynn, feeling a surge of fear, wanted to turn back when the old woman spoke. "We're here," The old woman lit a candle, illuminating the cave. Lynn could finally see clearly. Before her was a large statue of the cat deity. The old woman glanced at her before turning respectfully to the statue, murmuring something. Lynn wanted to speak but found she couldn't move or make a sound. Her fear intensified when she realized Mun had disappeared. Around her were strange puppets with hollow, soulless eyes and grotesque faces, their mouths agape, resembling children. One of them was nodding and saying, "Help me. Help me." A red dress. A cat. Children? Could this old woman be the terrifying cat-faced woman the villagers have been talking about? Lynn thought, trembling. As if to confirm Lynn's suspicion, the old woman now wore a red dress. Suddenly, a gust of wind blew, revealing the moon from behind the clouds. Its light shone directly on the cat deity statue. The old woman began to transform. Black fur sprouted on her face, and her eyes turned green. She howled, baring her sharp teeth as she turned to face Lynn. Lynn was terrified to see her face resembling that of the fearsome cat-faced woman. The woman's secret was now revealed. She wasn't an ordinary person but an evil witch who wanted to steal Lynn's soul and possess her body to maintain her youth. Lynn watched helplessly as the woman approached, unable to do anything. She realized she was standing in a circle with strange symbols. The cat-faced woman stood opposite her, chanting a spell. When she finished, Lynn suddenly closed her eyes and sank into darkness. Evil Lynx Chapter 2. In a bustling neighborhood of a large city, where skyscrapers tower overhead, the scene is illuminated by glittering lights. The wide streets are teeming with people and vehicles. The city's landscape is dazzling with vibrant advertising screens and unique modern architectural structures. Music and laughter resonate everywhere, creating a lively and energetic atmosphere. However, as darkness envelops every corner of the street, an eerie and mysterious story emerges about a malevolent spirit, often appearing as a woman in a red dress with a terrifying cat-like face, who kidnaps innocent children. This tale rekindles the belief in the existence of the supernatural world in many people's hearts, and as night falls, fear creeps into their minds. The story goes that the cat woman roams at dusk, her sharp green eyes reflecting the dim streetlights. She preys on the carelessness of children playing on the streets or those lost in the excitement of the vast city. These children are lured into dark alleys, gradually disappearing into the night. City residents recount this horrifying tale of children vanishing mysteriously at night to warn kids against staying out late. Fear spreads throughout the city as more children go missing. Parents warn their children to come home before p.m. In a small apartment at the top of a high-rise building, a single mother named Hen lives with her young son, Man. Hen is a strong and determined woman, always devoting her time and love to Man. One day, their lives are upended by the appearance of a strange woman, a frightening figure in a red dress with a cat's face. This mysterious woman appeared right at their doorstep, leaving Hen shocked and bewildered. However, she immediately recognized her as the cat woman everyone had warned about. The cat woman quickly snatched Man and vanished into the darkness. Hen, seemingly under the woman's sinister spell, stood frozen, watching helplessly as Man disappeared from sight. Despair overwhelmed Hen, tears streaming down her face. She felt her world grow dark, regretting her inability to protect her son. The mysterious disappearances of children led the press and police to launch a serious investigation. News about the cat woman spread rapidly, making many believe these incidents were linked to the supernatural. However, the police dismissed this theory, insisting that all the cases were human-caused. The media reported on witnesses seeing the cat woman before the children vanished. She wore a red dress, her face covered with soft black fur, with deep glowing green eyes like a cat's in the dark. She had a wide mouth and sharp teeth, like a cat ready to pounce on its prey. The coverage of the city's dark corners and strange disappearances caused widespread panic and fear. They also featured interviews with spiritual and psychological experts to delve deeper into the situation. Meanwhile, the police focused on gathering information and evidence to solve the case. They were certain that behind these terrifying events was a malevolent person, possibly a criminal or someone connected to the victims. Despite the police and media's disagreement on the perpetrator, the efforts to uncover the truth continued. The television station decided to send a female reporter named Mai to the city to interview the mother of a missing child and gather more information about the mysterious disappearances. Mai was a veteran reporter, skilled at uncovering notable events. Mai met and interviewed Han, who was heartbroken over her son's disappearance and the only one to have directly encountered the cat woman. She spent considerable time listening and sharing Han's pain, trying to console her and gather useful information for the investigation. Although surprised by the strong scent of mint in the room, Mai assumed it was a calming incense to help the grieving mother sleep. Han confided in Mai that she believed in the supernatural and wished to consult a medium to find her son. She hoped that assistance from the spiritual world could help her reunite with him. Mai listened sincerely and deeply understood Han's pain and despair. She agreed to support and accompany Han on her journey to find her son. Meanwhile, Mai's younger brother, Nam, a famous live streamer, received a call from his sister and learned that she would be away for a few days to gather information about the mysterious child disappearances. Being passionate about exploring supernatural phenomena, he decided to bring his girlfriend to the city to investigate and livestream the events to attract more viewers and fans to his channel. The police assigned a skilled and experienced officer, Min, to investigate the case. Min had extensive experience solving complex and challenging cases. He began gathering information but was unable to reach Han. Concerned by his inability to contact Han, Min decided to visit her home directly. Despite ringing the doorbell numerous times, no one answered. He called Mai, learning that she and Han were on their way to consult a medium for supernatural help. Disappointed, he was about to leave when the door automatically opened, and he stepped inside. Evil Lynx Chapter 3. At the same time, Mai and Han arrived at the famous medium's house. The home was shrouded in mist and filled with an air of spirituality. After discussing with the medium and performing rituals, a cold wind blew through, making Mai shiver. A spirit from the other world possessed the medium, making her face appear fierce. She bowed her head, her face hidden in shadows, and spoke. At midnight tonight, bring cat's tail grass and a round object. Head west to the abandoned field at the edge of the city. Mai and Han thanked the medium and quickly prepared. At PM, they set off to the abandoned field. Nam, the live streamer, had just arrived in the city at night. As he passed the abandoned field, he noticed a strange woman. She wore a red dress, her face hidden in the darkness, looking very eerie. With his years of experience as a live streamer, Nam sensed that this woman was likely connected to the recent child disappearances. He and his girlfriend got out of the car and followed her. As they walked, a thick fog suddenly enveloped them, obscuring their surroundings. Holding his girlfriend's hand tightly and clutching his phone, Nam pushed through the fog. When the fog cleared, they found themselves standing in an ancient, desolate, and remote village. Crossing through the fog, the two live streamers found themselves standing in an abandoned ancient village. The surrounding houses were in ruins, as if they had experienced a terrible fire. Nam and his girlfriend believed that this place could be the source of dark mysteries. They felt excited and eager to share their findings with their audience through the live stream. However, their phones lost signal. Frustrated, Nam had to switch to video recording mode on his phone to document their experience. While exploring, Nam discovered an old house that seemed more intact compared to the other dilapidated buildings. On the upper floor of the house, Nam found a torn and tattered old diary. In it, they uncovered the writings of a grieving father, telling about his daughter's disappearance in this village. As it turned out, in the past, after Lynn woke up in the cave, she tied up the Mrs. Chau, who was still unconscious, and followed the path out to the forest edge. Here, she found her parents and villagers searching for her. She followed her parents home, but before that, she assured the villagers that she had been kidnapped by the witch Chau and had luckily escaped. She locked Mrs. Chau back in a deep cave in the forest. Upon hearing this, the villagers became even more frightened. The increasing number of disappearances had already caused panic and fear, with many firmly believing that the witch was responsible for the mysterious disappearances and the children's vanishing. When they arrived at the cave and saw the puppets, they further believed that she had kidnapped the children to perform dark rituals, consuming their flesh and using them for evil purposes. Therefore, the villagers decided to punish Mrs. Chau by burning her alive. Mrs. Chau cried and denied all the accusations made by the villagers, declaring that she was not a witch and had never committed any evil deeds as they believed. However, amidst the chaos and hatred, Mrs. Chau's resistance did not change the villagers' decision. They tied Mrs. Chau to a wooden post and her body was engulfed in flames. The screams of pain and resentment echoed through the village, creating a horrifying and haunting atmosphere in everyone's minds. Yet, the villagers believed that they had liberated the village from demons and evil. Meanwhile, Lynn returned home, but her demeanor changed strangely. Lynn became completely different from before, her habits and preferences resembling those of a cat. She liked catnip, liked round objects, couldn't eat hot food, and often licked her hands and stroked her face. This made Lynn's father, who loved her dearly. Pay attention. Lynn's parents worried about their daughter's change and decided to seek help from a spiritual master. The spiritual master told them that Lynn's soul was no longer in her body but was a demonic soul that needed to be brought here to perform a summoning ritual immediately. But when they went to see the master, while performing the ritual, they encountered the resistance of the cat god, a mysterious supernatural entity they couldn't understand. The spiritual master tried to use his power to resist the cat god, but in vain. The master died in the exorcism. It was then that Lynn's parents learned that their daughter had been swapped with the body of the witch Chau and was burned alive by the villagers the other day. They were deeply pained but could do nothing. They decided to write down all the stories in this diary to convey their emotions. But Lynn's soul, after the sacrifice, liberated from the control of the witch and the cat god, burned in endless rage, her body occupied, the pain of being burned alive causing her eyes to turn red like blood, her face full of anger becoming ferocious. Lynn's supernatural power began to burn down the village, creating ruins like today. Reading this, Nam and his girlfriend suddenly felt cold, but then they felt sorry when they looked at the picture of the cute little Lynn. Lost in emotions, a hand suddenly patted Nam's shoulder. He screamed and turned around to find his older sister. "Sister, how did you get here?" Nam asked Mai. It turned out that Mai and Han also arrived at the deserted field at this time. They saw Nam and his girlfriend running towards the fog and quickly followed suit. After hearing the diary, all four decided to go into the forest and find a way out. Evil Lynx Chap 4. On Min's side, the police followed Mai's directions and arrived at the medium's house. But when he arrived, he only saw an old empty house. He was puzzled as he stepped inside and discovered the corpse of a woman who was said to be the medium had died about 7 to 10 days ago. He felt a chill when he thought of Mai's message. The medium has completed the ritual. She just showed me and my sister Han to the deserted field. If according to Mai's message, who performed the summoning ritual to find Han? Min thought silently. A sense of unease rose in his heart. Police officer Min quickly drove to the deserted field. There, he discovered a woman in a red dress walking through the fog. He quickly chased after her and reached the abandoned village. Through the thick fog, the police officer lost track of the woman. He was searching when he suddenly felt a chill down his spine. Slowly turning back, he widened his eyes. More than 10 terrifying-looking children stood behind him. They had no legs, empty eye sockets, and their mouths were red as blood, looking incredibly frightening. At this moment, Min knew that his 30 years of materialism had come to an end. The ghostly children growled and floated away in a direction. Police officer Min shivered as he followed, but they disappeared into the night. Police officer Min moved forward when he discovered Mai's group of 4 standing in front of a cave. At that moment, the shadow of a woman in a red dress appeared and swiftly entered the cave. "Hurry up and chase her." The group quickly followed the woman in red. Nam and his girlfriend were extremely worried. They told the others, "That woman looks exactly like Lynn in the diary, but it's been hundreds of years. How could Lynn still be alive?" At this moment, the cave suddenly lit up. In front of them was a large statue of the cat god. The woman glanced at them and then turned to respectfully face the statue, mumbling something. The group wanted to speak but found themselves unable to move or make any sound. They became even more frightened when they saw Han acting strangely, her face turning blue, resembling a long-dead person. Hen walked stiffly and collapsed next to the eerie child puppets with hollow, lifeless eyes and terrifying faces, mouths agape. At this point, everything started to become clear in police officer Min and everyone else's minds. Hen had died the night she encountered the cat woman. The person they had been interacting with was just a puppet controlled by the woman in red. The medium was also a similar case to Han. When Min first entered Han's apartment, his investigative instincts had noted the catnip under the sofa and the room's strong peppermint scent. This raised his suspicions. Now, the purpose behind these actions was evident. They were horrified as they looked at the large circle with strange symbols beneath their feet, realizing they were to be sacrificed in a ritual involving demons. As if confirming their suspicions, a gust of wind blew, revealing the moon from behind the clouds. The moonlight shone directly on the statue of the cat god, causing the woman to transform. Black fur began to sprout on her face, and her eyes turned green. She screamed and bared her sharp teeth, glaring at them with a terrifying cat-like face. The group was now aware of her secret. She was not an ordinary person but a wicked witch who wanted to take their souls and offer them to the cat god to maintain eternal youth. The group watched in despair as the woman approached them, unable to do anything. The cat-faced woman stood before them and chanted a spell. When she finished, the group suddenly closed their eyes and plunged into endless darkness. The next morning, a car driving past a deserted field noticed that the fog had disappeared. The ancient, deserted village had vanished without a trace. In the city, the missing people disappeared without a trace, like mysterious paintings that no one could decipher. The feeling of helplessness grew heavier, like a meaningless race against time.